Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time with Taylor. I appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. I have a feeling that we're going to get more people jumping in here within the next couple of minutes, but we have limited time today. I am going to go ahead and kick us off. Just a reminder, if everyone could just remember to mute your microphones if those are enabled for any reason, just so we can eliminate any background noise happening. And I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off here. So today's tea time is pretty special. This is the first time we've ever had a guest with me, and it's a guest that hopefully some of, if not all of you, know already. Vince Roberge. He is our senior business consultant with Johnson Consulting Group, and a lot of you guys already work with him on one of our services, which is referred to as incentive compensation plans. But today we're going to talk about the importance of using the CX metrics from Performance Tracker within those plans, and why it's important to be, hearing from directly your families when constructing these bonus structures for your teams. So I'm going to go ahead and get things kicked off here. I'm going to start off today with going through a couple of housekeeping reminders for our current Performance Tracker X users. We've had a lot of change happening and a lot of new launches going on. So I want to make sure that you guys know what to do with those. And then I'm going to kick off with some information on high-level significance of CX. And I'll pass it over to Vince, and he's going to discuss the incentive compensation plans and really dive into today's topic. So just a quick note, we do want to hear from you guys. If you have any requests or ideas for future webinar topics that you really want to hear a subject on, please feel free to submit them to our support team, and we will gather them and take them internally to our team to see what's most popular and what's going to be really good for coming months. So if you have any ideas on that, please feel free to submit it, whether or not you're a current Performance Tracker X user or not. If you attend these sessions and you have ideas, we want to hear them. So for current Performance Tracker X users, we launched this week our single sign-on platform. So I do just want to make sure that everyone in attendance today is aware of all of these links that we have for tutorial videos on how to help you navigate this new section of our platform. You can access them by logging into your dashboard and going to the support tab, which sometimes you have to click on this little caret drop down arrow to select the support tab, just depending on the size of your window. And then select resources subtab. That resources subtab will bring you to all of these links. These links are also live here in this deck, so you will receive this presentation after this tea time as well. So if you need to access anything in here, please do so. Watch these videos. They're very short, don't take a lot of time, and they're packed with information. And then our support desk is, of course, available to any users who have questions on the single sign-on or anything having to do with Performance Tracker at support@j3techsolutions.com. So with that brief little reminder for everyone, I do just want to share really quick some very high level significance of customer experience metrics. These are just reasons why you should use customer experience metrics like what we track in Performance Tracker within your bonus structures. So alignment with business goals, by tying bonuses to CX metrics, it's clearly going to communicate customer satisfaction is a top priority. I'm not going to read every word on all of these points for you guys, but just knowing that measurable impact is really important. Having that tangible piece of data, that's something I talk about a lot when I'm on with clients, is just having your arrangers, for example, if you're in funeral, you have your funeral directors log in and they can see their own metrics over time, how they're performing, what families are saying about them. That's really going to be very encouraging and impactful for them. employee engagement. So employees are actively, interacting with families and the feedback they're receiving, so they know that that's what's deciding their bonus, and it's not necessarily the opinion of management or anything like that. It's coming directly from the families that they work with. Customer retention and loyalty. So, previously served is by far our largest lead source in both funeral and cemetery. And having that, that family loyalty of coming back to your funeral home over the years is definitely something you guys are striving for and want to continue within your businesses. So, that's a really good reason for it. And then identifying areas of improvement. This is my favorite part of Performance Tracker and what our system provides to our clients. And this is definitely something that will help your individual arrangers be able to manage their performance over time. Is just seeing, hey, maybe there's an area of opportunity where we can improve some things, whether it be in the performance of the individual staff, or maybe it's the operational needs of the whole site. So just hearing directly from your families is just extremely invaluable. And I kind of wanted to kick off today's topic with just this very brief overview. But I am going to go ahead and pass it over to Vince. Like I mentioned at the top of the call, Vince is our senior business consultant. He is very, very experienced within the profession, and he's my go-to on our business consulting team whenever I have questions for anything within our profession. So Vince, if you want to go ahead and share your screen and take it away here.
I will. Thank you, Taylor. And it's good to be with you and the guests that are here in person and those that will listen to this on recording after the fact. We certainly have seen a lot of increased interest in incentive compensation plans over the last several years. I think a big part of that is simply because of some of the challenges we've found in the labor market, as well as personnel expenses on the whole. For many funeral homes, those expenses have been increasing over the last several years as a percentage of total revenue. And so owner-operators are a little more focused on how to compensate their highest performers appropriately while maintain alignment with the financial goals of the company. So we've been performing and administrating, designing incentive plans for years. What I'm going to do today over the next 20 minutes or so is give you all on the call sort of the tools to be thinking about your own incentive plan, as well as perhaps create an incentive plan, add or improve to your incentive plan that you have in place currently. When I start talking about incentive plans, what's on the screen here is sort of the foundation. We want to ensure that if we put ourselves in any employee's shoes, that the incentive plan that's rolled out is very understandable, that it's not overly complex, because if it's overly complex, well, it simply is not going to incent or motivate as intended. We also want to make sure that it's achievable and fair. And that's sometimes a tough balance to strike. There's always a little bit of a challenge or friction between what's equitable and what's efficient. Sometimes what's very efficient and simple is not always fair, and what's fair is very complex sometimes. So we need to strike a balance between those two things. And as Taylor mentioned, I think in some of the lead up to this, we have to use measurable metrics. And one of the benefits of having a tool like Performance Tracker, which I am sort of working under the assumption that everyone listening to this is using Performance Tracker. One of the great benefits is you have a metrics-based survey program. So you automatically have this tool that can be used for incentive-based pay, incentive compensation plans. In putting ourselves in an owner-operator's shoes, any incentive plan really needs to deliver on world-class customer experiences. I think Taylor mentioned that the primary reason that most families choose a funeral home is because of prior service, prior experience. And data suggests that 60 to 80% of families are choosing a funeral home because of some former experience. Maybe it was one that they had, or one that was had by someone they know and trust. or simply something that materializes to an online review that influences a decision in the future. So the experiences that you're providing to client families today is a leading indicator, really, of the future health and well-being of a funeral home business. So customer experience is important. You have the tool. We'll talk a little bit about that. But there is a financial component to any incentive plan that we create. I know that sometimes funeral directors, owner operators who are funeral directors perhaps are a little hesitant in driving sales performance, we'll say. They want to, they don't want to be known as selling to families who are going through a loss. And we certainly need to take that into consideration. However, at the end of the day, there is a financial need for the business. And the way in which we set up plans, not really oriented towards selling, but certainly providing every family with every option, and aligning those goals of every individual with the budget or financial needs of the company. One way we do that is through a quarterly qualifier. So historically, what you see and have seen in funeral home businesses and in the profession is sometimes an annual holiday bonus. I think that's very common. I think more and more it's being challenged, so to speak. But what we're advocates of is moving a little bit further away from non-incentive holiday pay to something that could be, in theory, more generous, maybe higher bonus potential, but tied to what's important for the business. I've always seen one of the side effects of a good and well-designed incentive plan is to really create a little bit better financial stewardship within the organization. So even the funeral directors, the full-time, non-licensed staff on your team, just having a little bit more sense about what is good for the health of this business to be a sustainable institution of this local community for years to come. And there are some financial requirements for that. I don't think they play second fiddle to customer experience, but it's a balance between those. So again, we facilitate the plans quarterly. That's what we're advocates of. Part of the benefit of that is to keep the results and the plan front and center. I mean, there's really a 90-day reset every quarter, and it's a top of mind type of program. So if the qualifiers that we design are not met, then what we advocate and suggest is that payouts for that quarter not be made. So this is sort of a trigger, so to speak, if the payouts will be made or not. And one of the biggest qualifiers in this case would be the revenue or call volume of the firm for the quarter. So if the call volume target is achieved, then we move on to the individual performance and bonus according to individual performance. If, for example, the quarterly call volume qualifier is not met, then we'll reset and go again in the next quarter. This helps smooth out cash flow challenges for funeral home businesses, as well as simply make the payouts aligned with the financial performance of the company. You see on the screen also a couple other options for qualifiers. I should mention that almost no two incentive plans are identical. So there's always a degree of customization. I've been involved in this for a number of years, and that's one of the great features of a plan like this, is to really tailor it to the needs of the company. If the company, for example, historically has had high survey response rates, maybe there's not a reason to have that as a company qualifier. I've also seen examples and utilized the response rate of the survey program as an individual metric, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Quarterly revenue clearly is, well, arguably the best qualifier to use. These should align with the budget or financial needs or expectations of the business. However, some owner operators don't want to be sharing that type or level of detailed information with their teams. So the call volume can be used as a substitute to that. So in the case where their company qualifiers are met, their bonus payouts might be made for a quarter, for example. What are the types of metrics or what are the types of standards by which individuals are compensated? Typically, we look at 3 or 4. The 4 that you see on the screen are, in many cases, the starting point. These are all going to align with, again, the financial needs, expectations, objectives of the company. So in many cases, I or consultants on our team are working with owner operators to develop a budget. So a budget of revenue that will be used to translate into these metrics for the bonus program, for the incentive compensation plan. So just a couple quick notes here. If you're thinking about using some of these in your own plan, I would encourage you to omit pre-funded cases. So pre-need turned at need cases. We don't necessarily want to include those for an average sale calculation for our arrangers. Another note, some of you might be wondering about that days sales outstanding. That's an accounts receivable metric that reflects the average daily revenue for each arranger that is uncollected or outstanding. So if there are AR issues or problems at a funeral home business, this is one way to really focus our team on improving in that area. Now, as it relates to performance tracker, I would say the most important metric that you see on the screen is that OPS score. Many of you are familiar with that. That's really an aggregate score of the client family's experience at the funeral home from initial contact through final rest and aftercare. And that's a very important metric in an incentive plan. One other note that I'll make is it's possible to utilize these metrics in different ways, essentially weighting some heavier than others. We can use overall performance score for the arrangers as a way to influence the entire bonus potential every quarter. It can also be used in conjunction with the average sale metrics that I've described in a variety of ways. So what I'm giving you and providing today is really just a high-level overview of some of the ways in which metrics that come out of performance tracker might be used in an incentive plan. The other thing that many might be wondering is how do firms determine the bonus potential quarterly for their employees? So if you have a number of funeral director arrangers on your team, what is the appropriate amount? That's also a big question to unpack. As a starting point, I often work with firms to understand what amount of bonuses have been paid in prior years. Often, again, we're moving away from a non-performance-based incentive plan to a plan like I'm describing that's more in performance-based. And that offers an opportunity to be more generous, really, with the total bonus potential. Because in the best case scenarios, the company is doing well, achieving its budgeted targets for not only financial goals, but also in terms of customer satisfaction. And so we can reward our highest performers and those who are contributing to that success to a greater degree. There are ways to incorporate non-licensed staff into an incentive plan as well. There are some firms that include, for example, office administrative staff. And we think to ourselves, what role do they have? What is their role within the organization? What are some of the key ways in which they support the growth, the success of the company? And we really think about how can we align that with the incentive plan. For every organization, this might be a little different depending on the employee's role and responsibility. Generally speaking, though, the overall performance score, company OPS, as you see on the screen there, is going to be or going to have some impact, or each employee will have some impact on that OPS. I've always often thought about the sort of team mentality as well in terms of incentive plans, that if we're all sort of aligned and unified in driving this metric, which really reflects our client family experience, that's going to be not only good for the client families we're serving, but it's good for the company as a driver of future growth and customer satisfaction currently. And it's also good for our employees in these cases because they're able to earn a few extra dollars every quarter. There are some ways, though, to take specific questions from the survey that's sent to the families and utilize the data for specific questions that align with certain roles and responsibilities for full-time employees that maybe aren't licensed, they're not meeting with families. Those average sale and accounts receivable metrics really don't apply to them. Maybe, for example, as you see on the screen, you have an individual who works in your care center or preparation room. We have been able to isolate the one question on the survey regarding the appearance of the loved one. We want that to be absolutely high. We want that as high as it can be for customer satisfaction. And our embalmers and care center team have a big influence on that. So we can use that in conjunction with some of the other ways they contribute, including, but not limited to, metrics like company OPS. I have had questions in the past about why we don't use, say, a metric like total value index or a metric like net promoter score in incentive compensation plans. And there's a couple things to consider there. One, regarding net promoter, that doesn't always give us the greatest holistic picture of the experience that the funeral director had direct involvement with. Sometimes the ability to recommend or the likelihood to recommend is a little bit separate from the experience itself. And so OPS has always been our go-to metric for incentive plans. With regards to total value index, many of you know that net promoter is a component of the total value index, as well as the value question, which could be argued arrangers don't have as much influence over. So there are some areas for some debate there, but generally speaking, most of the metrics that we're using relate to individual questions on the survey or the OPS itself. I have had incentive plans where we focus on the initial contact for those that are very involved in that stage of the customer experience journey at the funeral home. We can also look at the facility appearance question for those individuals who are on a funeral home team that are really more geared towards the grounds or maybe managing the facilities themselves. So there's a lot of ways to really think critically about your team, the role they play in client family experience, and reward them for delivering the really exceptional services that you are. One way in which we utilize those OPS scores and some of the scores that come out of Performance Tracker is through some scaling. What's on the screen here is a scale that could be used, for example, for the quarterly bonus payouts. There's a couple ways to use the OPS score itself. For example, the OPS score might have influence over an arranger's entire bonus potential. It could also be a certain percentage of an arranger's bonus potential. So, but we do want to look at where the company has been historically with response rate, with overall performance score. Sometimes over the course of several years, companies are really gaining a lot in terms of the level of client experience. We see these OPS scores start to climb. And so we do challenge the team a little bit year over year. This scale might be adjusted, but it's important to look at where you've been, where perhaps other performance tracker clients are, what are the current benchmarks, where do we want or need to be in order to really be using customer experience as a driver of future market share growth for our funeral home. Any incentive plan has the added benefit of being a channel of communication for the management and the employees on a quarterly basis. In the plans that I help administer, I'm providing, and John's Consulting is providing, quarterly reports that can be used in one-on-one type meetings with your team. And obviously we're covering, what was the result of the bonus plan, but it's also an opportunity to further develop the relationship that management has with everyone on the funeral homes team. So that's again, an added benefit. If you do your own incentive plan, I would still advocate and challenge you to use some type of scorecard that you can sit down with employees, or the management can sit down with employees and really review this and have a conversation about perhaps challenges that the employee might be facing, or areas of focus for the next 90 days and such. So you might be sitting there, hopefully you've gained a little bit of perspective on creating an incentive plan using Performance Tracker. I would also offer up that some other considerations would be, who are the people on your team that would be part of the plan? Are you going to include your part-time staff, or is it full-time only? What are those bonus potentials per quarter? What are the bonus potentials for the year? It's very rare that on any given quarter, the full potential is paid out. By the nature of the way in which the plans are designed, sort of the law of averages, so to speak, we rarely see more than, say, 60 to 80% of the total bonus payout being paid. But the key there is that those that are really the high performers of the quarter are going to get a little extra. But it's always good to work backwards with regards to the budget that you have in place, how that can be or would be distributed among employees, given their role, responsibility, seniority, etc. I would also suggest that if you don't have one already, to work with, whether it's the management, if you're the owner operator, to be really thinking about what is the annual call volume and associated average sales by case type that align with your financial needs. That's a good exercise, even if you don't wish to put forth an incentive plan, but just to measure your company's performance month to month, quarter to quarter. To have some form of a revenue budget is really foundational to developing a well-designed incentive compensation plan. Another consideration would be if you have multiple locations and different pricing among your locations. That's another layer to consider, especially if your arrangers are moving from location to location. The average sale targets that might align with budget could be different for each location versus the company as a whole. There are some ways to sort of get around that or overcome that bit of a challenge. I'd be happy to sort of talk through any of those unique circumstances. But at the highest level, you have already a very, very powerful tool in Performance Tracker. And you can put together a very easy to understand and efficient incentive compensation plan that can drive really the most important metrics of a funeral home business. And that's customer satisfaction, as well as the financial needs of the company as well. So I know we're running up on time here. I will open it up for any questions or turn it back to Taylor. Again, happy to carry on conversations with anyone that has any individual questions, comments, or concerns of any kind.
Thank you so much, Vince. That was really great. Everyone, I know typically we don't have microphones enabled for these sessions, but I did enable them today just so anyone could come on and ask questions to Vince directly. So you can feel free to use your mic or submit questions in Q&A. And if you don't have anything right now at the top of your head, that's totally fine. You can reach out to either myself or Vince. I am going to share my screen one last time here just to keep up with our normal support team information for you guys. So this is for current Performance Tracker X clients, but of course, anyone who's not a current client can feel free to reach out to us as well, and we'll get you in touch with the proper person. Does anyone have any questions before we kind of dismiss the class here. All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and end the meeting. The recording will complete. Anyone who is not able to join today but who registered will also receive the recording. I'm very excited that you guys got to come today. Thank you so much. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions regarding incentive compensation plans. Thank you, Vince.
Thank you.